My grandfather loves femboys. Why does he love femboys? Because I introduced him to the luscious power of milky thighs and a femboy. That's what I did. It's something I did when we were hanging out. We were watching YouTube on a Nintendo Wii. It was a very fun time. It was cool. However, because of the wanton need of attention that I have to post my stories online and tell people, people have found my grandfather, and he has gained a little bit of a notoriety amongst a few select femboy groups, and this has caused him to be negative $750,000. Now, this is a big number. That's 3/4 of a million. How do you lose that much money to these delicious, powerful, sexy, thigh shaking, thigh high wearing, luscious, hipped men? How do you do that? How do you do that? Well, I called him. I called my grandfather and I said, "Hey, how are things going?" He immediately hits me with a vein of destitution. You could hear it in his voice. You could hear it in his jowls. He said, "It's bad." I said, "It's bad? Michael Jackson?" He said, "No, it's worse than that. Worse than Michael Jackson bad." Oh my goodness. And Michael Jackson, he had court cases about his bad. That was really bad. He said, "I'm broke. Had to sell the house." Sell the house? Now, this house had been in my family for 3 generations. 3 generations. I was going to get the house next. Hopefully, God giving. I was hoping that when my granddad died, I would have a place to stay permanently. That'd be outstanding. And then I could use that as an Airbnb or something of that sort. My Airbnb dream fantasies of being a landlord with horrible, horrible, horrible ratings on Airbnb was squandered, was ruined. My passive income plan has completely been destroyed. I said, "What's going on? What's happening?" Well, I'm upset and confused, but also feeling sorrowful and sympathetic. No empathy, because I don't understand what he's going through. Just pure sympathy, anger. I said, "Okay, what's happening?" I was trying to hold back my rage, but it slipped out a little bit. He said, "Well, you know those beautiful, sultry, nice, fair skin, bouncy booties I've been on about? Yes, the bussy. I grasp it. I understand what happened with them. What's going on?" I hear in the background, "Hey, baby." One of them's there. One of them's in the background. One of them's in the foreground making noises. My money being ruined. Now, I want to point this out. I had this devious plan to get in the good graces of my grandfather so that I could be in the inheritance in the will to get a bunch of money coalescing in my body. However, I'm losing all that because my charity of goodwill, showing my granddad being more accepting of homosexual men, maybe even men that have a lot more feminine in nature abilities, was backfiring and recoiling and blowing up in my face. This ruined my week. So, my granddad said, "Well, I'm staying with one of them right now. I'm just using any money I could possibly get to help them out." Help them out? Help them out. So I said, "Where are you at right now, Granddad?" Granddad gave me his longitude and his latitude, and I drove over Christopher Columbus status because I'm about to colonize and fix everything, despite the fact that apparently it didn't need to be fixed. But I just wanted to come over and make my presence known. Christopher Columbus, you know what's going on. I pop through like I'm entering the Americas, and I look around, and I see all these indigenous femboys. Not racially indigenous. They had been there before I had arrived, so I was trying to take over. They looked at me and said, "You look just like the guy we have downstairs." There was 5 of them. 5, all basically the same archetype. Very lovely, by the way. They looked amazing. Smelled beautiful in the household. Smelled like roses and lavender in the entire household. I was excited and I was confused. I said, "You know what? How do you guys afford this house? What's going on?" One of them was a coder. And you can probably guess the rest of the 4 professions, all just things that doesn't make any. I think one person screwed in light bulbs for like $500 an hour on city streets. I don't even know. They just had these weird, obscure trade jobs. That didn't make a whole lot of sense. I said, "Dang it. Femboys always taking our jobs." That's the real thing. Screw immigration. Screw the immigrants. Femboys are taking all our jobs. All the good jobs, femboys got them. So I said, "All right, let me go see my granddad." My granddad was downstairs, and he was oilier than usual. He was sweating, propagating. I said, "Granddad, Pops, why you stuck down here?" He explained the horrors of what happened. After my video had reached a massive audience, it had blown up on Twitter, it had gotten bigger on Instagram. Many people had actually figured out about my family lineage. People are really good at figuring out people on the internet. I didn't realize how easy I was to track. I didn't really grasp that. I didn't really figure that out. So much of my information had been out there. I'd pre-doxed myself by giving a little tidbits about my location. I'm not gonna give my location in this video on the off chance this video gets any traction. I just don't want. I'm scared a little bit now. A little bit fear is in my soul and my belly because they figured out this man's exact address and started figuring out his Instagram and all this other stuff and messaged him. Now, if you had to take a number guess about how many femboys my granddad had, it was 73. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, that's a big number. That's a huge number. That's a almost absurd, unrealistic number. That's because I'm lying. It was 105. I said 73 because I just saw a thing pop on my other thing saying 73 seconds to restart, and I am not going to let my computer restart in the middle of this recording. So I'm going to fix that in a second. Hold on. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to interrupt myself. Had to stop that. Just want to make sure Windows didn't do a force update. That was a little bit stupid. But back to what I was saying. 105. 105. Beautiful, luscious chocolate starfishes for my grandfather. Just going buck wild to town. Bring it around town. Grind around the city inside these boys. It was nuts. I said, Granddad, we gotta get you out of here. You gotta take as much money as you possibly can. We gotta get you an apartment. He said no. I said, well, my chest hurt. Like, what do you mean no? He said, if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out doing what I love. And what I love is femboys. I said, okay, hold on. What? I clean my glasses here. What? What are you talking about? What? You're broken, destitute. He said, well, they love me more than most people I'd love in my entire life. I said, oh, well, that's cool, but you're broke. He said, I've been broke most of the time. I've been broke in many instances of my life, but I always make it out. And sometimes you gotta be low to get high. I said, okay, that's not good advice at all. That's not even spiritually, that's not even a saying. I can't even apply that to any realistic situations. You are negative $750,000. And I thought about that and I said, right, you're negative 3. You can't even get a place if you wanted to. He said, exactly. My house foreclosed. I'm bankrupt. I filed for bankruptcy. It didn't go through, all this other stuff. I said, whoa, that's crazy. You did this to yourself. And he said, so? I ain't got that much to live anyway. And I now realize that any of his debt is going to go to his next of kin, which would be my father. Which means that I now have not inheritance from 2 people. I don't get inheritance from him nor my father because the debt is going to just keep going. And thankfully, I'm not the firstborn, but it will just keep rolling and ricocheting until it eventually gets to me. And at this moment, I think I realized that I had to distance myself from this part of my family. I had to stay away from these people because they were going to ruin my life. I had now realized, I had thought about the logic, the math, the background, everything. These people are going to ruin my life. So I decided to leave, greeting the femboy, saying goodbye, exchanging pleasantries. And I'm driving back home and I'm thinking to myself, I screwed myself over. My greed ruined me. I had so much greed inside of my soul and body that femboys took it over. They really took over my granddad's life. And he's bro, I don't even know what's going to happen to him at this point. I have no clue. I don't know. But he's so negative in the hole. I don't even know. He's in the hole. He's really in the holes. And I ain't talking about Shia LaBeouf here. Things are bad. Things are bad. I just want to talk about this because people have been asking me for an update about the situation. And I just want to let you know that I didn't know what was going on myself. I knew that he was losing money, but I didn't know how much. And this is all bad. Anyways, bye. I'm your Nick and Night, be my loyal, low. Ooh, happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. Ooh, I love the ride when you